My name is Brittany Miller. I would like to acknowledge my ancestors and those who have not yet been born into our world. My mother's people are of the Mohawk of the Grand River Territory, and my father was born of German and British settlers. I acknowledge the lands which we all benefit from, the plants, animals, and waters that nourish our bodies and help us to sustain. I acknowledge the history of all Indigenous peoples and the dish with one spoon covenant, which tells us how to share the land in a good way. I acknowledge the two-row wampum belt, which tells us how to live together in peace. In my ancestors' teachings, we learn to do all things with a good mind. We take time together and alone to reflect on how we may ensure that everyone gets to eat, everyone gets to be healed, and everyone gets to be happy. It is our responsibility to care for these lands, the people, and all living things so that we may live in a good way. I acknowledge the land on which I live are traditional and treaty lands of the Haudenosaunee and Mississauga of the Credit. We must acknowledge the forced assimilation of Indigenous peoples, the ongoing impacts of colonization, and the healing work that must be done to repair this trauma. We all have a responsibility to educate ourselves about the history of the land and the experiences of Indigenous peoples. This understanding is needed to inform the work that we do so that we can stop perpetuating the damages of colonization and begin to repair them. Land acknowledgements are just one small first step in doing this work. These words are not enough. We know that while we cannot change the past, we can change the future. We dedicate ourselves to recognizing colonialism and how it has disrupted these cycles as we respect Indigenous rights to protect land, treaties, and communities. Thank you.
Hello Team B2C and welcome tonight to We'll Be Virtually There, a special virtual road trip just for you. Donc bonsoir et bienvenue à cette soirée virtuelle juste pour vous. Thank you for joining us. Tellement content que vous soyez des nôtres. We have a great experience ready for you today, so let's set the stage. After 2 challenging years and somewhere at our doorstep, we are all primed to get outside, visit the places we love, and do the activities that we have missed so much. You have adapted, evolved, faced challenges, found solutions, and rolled up your sleeve, pushed on, and said, "We got this," and have been working extremely hard over the past many months. So today it's time to change the rhythm, to slow down. Sit back, kick up your feet, and enjoy this time together. C'est le temps de prendre ça cool, de relaxer et de passer du temps ensemble. Okay. So what is Virtually There all about? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's try this out. Without further ado, Team B2C, hello and welcome to this VIP, very important person and very special event, or if you prefer, to celebrate you, no matter where you are right now. C'est le temps de vous célébrer, peu importe où vous êtes en ce moment. Today, we're taking you on a journey to the major cities where B2C has a footprint, allowing all us to be virtually together all in one night. From Montreal to New York to Milwaukee to Toronto to Chicago, together we'll be there and exploring some of each city's top attractions. Donc ensemble, nous allons profiter et explorer quelques attractions touristiques de chaque ville. And during our tour, we'll be sharing some of the things that your B2C leader missed the most during the pandemic, and some might surprise you. And there's a special hint. I encourage all of you to pay attention to yours truly, your tour guide, as I share these reflections from your leaders. Because after tonight's tour, they could be your passport to fun. We're talking about a draw for one of 5 $100 travel and entertainment gift cards. Et voici un petit secret. Je vous encourage tous à porter attention à des indices parce que quand je partagerai les réflexions de vos leaders, après la visite de ce soir, elle pourrait être votre passeport pour le plaisir. Donc, un tirage l'une des 5 cartes cadeaux de $100 pour voyage et divertissement. So if you're ready to begin, this is where you hear the crowd go crazy. And let me introduce myself, your humble guide. Je vais m'introduire, Antonio El Grande Internacional Virtualix, Tour Guide Touristique III. Okay, Anthony is much easier. So please come on board with your smile and hop in. Embarquez, on vous attend. La tournée qui débute, the tour is about to begin.
Okay, B2C, welcome to your Virtually There tour, and we'll be beginning shortly as we prepare for departure, so please listen to the following instructions. We will be presenting to you in both English and French, and captions will be provided when applicable to help you have the best experience. Now, please avoid using VPN or Pulse Secure. We suggest using a non-BMO device. Please feel free to use the chat function whenever you'd like to post a comment. Donc, s'il vous plaît, utilisez le clavardage pour vos commentaires.
Like now, maintenant. Okay, well, please feel free to use the chat. Use it right now. Post a comment. Utilisez le clavardage pour vos commentaires. Allez-y. Okay. Come on, just write your chat. So, write something. All right, perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. I like that. Okay, donc merci. Now that you've typed random silly things, we'd like to remind you that this event will be recorded and it can be shared with your colleagues, family, and friends, and it's kid-friendly. And we would like to add a very important note for a chance to win an amazing travel-related prize. So keep your eyes and ears open as we travel through each city. Shortly after this event, you'll get an email with a link to play the Virtually There trivia game. You'll have 24 hours after you receive the email to access the link. And being a winner depends on how fast you respond to each question after you open the link for the first time. Winners will be announced soon afterwards, so we wish you good luck. Je vous invite à porter attention lors des visites dans les villes différentes. Après cet événement, vous allez recevoir un courriel avec un lien pour un quiz qui sera valide pour 24 heures. Le pointage sera attribué par la vitesse que vous répondez aux questions une fois que le lien a été accédé. Les gagnants seront annoncés sous peu. All right, let's get going. Grab your kids, pets, and pizzas or a non-GMO organic chai latte with a dash of cinnamon and stevia and buckle up for the show. Let's hit the road. C'est la capitale des événements internationaux en Amérique du Nord. This is North America's #1 host city for international events such as the Grand Prix. Now, elle est la deuxième plus grande ville francophone au monde après Paris. And it is the second largest French-speaking city in the world after Paris. Now, did you know? Wink! The Old Port, Old Town area is the location of the original and still operational headquarters of BMO. Now, today, BMO is North America's 8th largest bank by assets, serving 12 million customers. Now, that's a lot of customers, BMO. Alright, cette ville abrite une patrimoine culture de spectacles de rue et d'acrobatie ainsi que le Cirque du Soleil, mondialement connu. This city is home to the amazing cultural heritage of street performance and acrobatics and home to the world-famous Cirque du Soleil. Bienvenue, welcome to Montreal. And now, for your delight, here is a performance from an artist that has performed and taught circus performers all across Canada, as well as in Europe, the Middle East, and Asia, with numerous awards from the Can Spin Award for Best Hula Hoop of the Year to joining the social circus group Spark Circus to perform in North Thailand for refugees in orphanages and hospitals. From fire performing to wonderful LED light shows to clowning and kids entertainment, her skills all come together to create the perfect combination for exciting, entertaining, and astonishing acts that everyone can enjoy. Voici votre performance. This is Montreal's entertainer, Isabella Hoops.
Bonjour l'équipe ECIAL. Je suis honorée d'être avec vous aujourd'hui pour apporter un étincelle de plus à votre événement. Montréal a une véritable culture de l'art et de rue du cercle depuis longtemps. Et j'ai incroyable chance de faire partie. J'adore le frisson que je ressens lorsque je fais un spectacle avec du feu. Et j'espère que vous appréciez ce que j'ai préparé pour vous. Merci l'équipe ECL de m'avoir invité à participer à cet événement et excellente soirée à tous.
Now, before we visit our next city, we asked some of your B2C leaders what they missed most over the last couple of years, and I wanted to share some of what they had to say. Jennifer missed watching her kids play organized sports. She loved the hustle of going to the tournaments and shows with both her kids. Mariusz missed playing tennis while the courts were closed. Eric missed the innocence of pre-pandemic life, being able to get together with friends without worry or fear. Well, he's thrilled to be back and integrated in his communities. Okay, in this next city, these citizens speak more than 800 languages combined, donc une ville qui parle plus de 800 langues combinées. It's the most linguistically diverse city in the world. This is the largest city in the United States with a population over 8.5 million and is also known as the Big Apple. C'est la plus grande ville des États-Unis avec une population de plus de 8,5 millions d'habitants et est également connue sur le nom de Big Apple. Welcome to New York City. Until 1898, the city was known as New Amsterdam because the first European settlers were Dutch. The name changed when the city was gifted to the Duke of York on his 18th birthday, which he then decided to rename the city. Now, New York City is made up of 5 boroughs: Manhattan, the Bronx, Queens, Brooklyn, and Staten Island. Interestingly, it's illegal to honk your car horn in New York City. And did you know that, wink, the Phantom of the Opera is the longest running Broadway show, running since 1988. And speaking of Broadway, it's a whole area, not just a street. This area consists of a collection of 40 professional theaters and attracts 30 million people annually. Donc Broadway est plus qu'une rue, c'est un quartier au complet composé de 40 théâtres professionnels et attire au-dessus de 13 millions de personnes annuellement. Now, we know that Boyan really missed going to the movies during the pandemic, and Flajana missed those daily water cooler chats. So we hope this B2C event is keeping you entertained, Boyan, and giving you something to talk about at the water cooler, Slajana. We think you're both going to really enjoy this next performance. So welcome to the show, bienvenue au spectacle, welcome to New York. And joining us is Gypsy Spaceman, who is a musician, actor, and songwriter that has played along the sides likes of Brian Johnson of AC/DC, Rami Jaffe of the Foo Fighters and Wallflowers, Jill Scott, and Boy George. He has starred in Broadway hit musical Rent and Taboo and Off-Broadway in Greenwood the Musical. Recently, he's joined the uber-talented cast of musical stage production of Uncover, the music of Stevie Wonder and Prince at Kerner Hall. Whether it's for an audience of 1,000 in a historic Broadway theater or a local bar, he is a passionate performer who leaves it on the floor. Que ce soit devant un public de milliers de personnes, dans un théâtre historique ou Broadway, dans un bar local, il est un artiste passionné qui laisse tout sur le plancher. Here he is, our New York entertainer, Carrie Shields.
Hello, Team B2C, and greetings from New York City. I'm Carrie Shields, and I'm excited to help celebrate you and tell you a bit about bustling NYC and Broadway. I've heard there's a lot of winning talent on this team, so I'd like to share a bit about what it takes to win on Broadway. But first, I want to sing a song about my favorite city. From Billy Joel, this is New York State of Mind. Some folks like to get away, take a holiday from the neighborhood, and hop a flight to Miami Beach or to Hollywood. But I'm taking a Greyhound on a Hudson River line, 'cause I'm in a New York state of mind. Whoa, seen all the movie stars in their fancy cars and their limousines, and been high in the Rockies or under the evergreens. But I know what I'm needing, and I don't want to waste more time, 'cause I'm in a New York state of mind. Oh, it was so easy living day by day, out of touch with the rhythm and blues. But now I need a little bit of give and take. New York Times, the Daily News, whoa. But it comes down to reality, and it's fine with me, 'cause I've let it slide. And I don't care if it's Chinatown or on Riverside. I don't have any reasons, I left them all behind, 'cause I'm in a New York state of mind. Oh, I'm just taking a Greyhound on a Hudson River line. 'Cause I'm in, and I'm in a New York state of mind. Yeah. Whoa. I'd like to tell you a little story about how I got my start as an actor on Broadway. We have to go back to 1997, where I was a struggling musician in crippling debt, living on my mother's couch, which is the musician trifecta, is what we call that. And then this one day, my mom comes running downstairs. She's bounds downstairs, and she's giggling, and she's holding the phone in her hand. She's covering the thing, and she's like, Carrie, wake up. She's like, you're gonna kill me. But I wrote a letter to this agent. I said that I was you, and I said I'd be perfect for the role of Roger in Rent. And she's laughing. She's like, please just tell him that you're gonna come to this audition. He wants you to come in. So I pick up the phone, and he's like, hi, Carrie, this is Bruce. I got your letter. Would love for you to come out today. And I'm like, all right, thanks, Bruce, whatever. He gives me the time, and I hang up the phone, and my mom's like, oh my God, just please go to this audition. I'll buy you McDonald's, and which is the easiest way to get me to do anything. And so I go to the audition, and I sing my face off, and they're like, okay, Carrie, thank you, that's great. And I'm walking home, and then I get the call from this agent, and he's like, hi, Carrie, it's Bruce again. Do you want to come into the office and we can say hello? And so I go and I meet Bruce, and I'm sitting down, and he's like, all right, so they don't know when and they don't know where, but they want you to play Roger in Rent. And he continues to talk, but I don't hear anything. I just like this wah, wah, wah. It's like, like the sound of Charlie Brown's teachers, like wah, wah, wah. And, he sort of wraps it up. He's like, okay, thanks. Hey, kid, your life is going to change after this. And I walk out of the office, and I get onto the street, and I fall down onto my knees, and I'm like fists in the air, and I'm screaming. Like 20 minutes ago, I was a struggling unemployed musician in Toronto. Like, now I would be playing a struggling unemployed musician in New York City. And it was wild. 2 weeks later, I'm on a plane to New York, and in a short time after that, I'm making my first entrance. And you sort of like, you go through this door and you walk out onto the stage, and there's 2,000 people waiting for you to speak and sing, I guess. And it was a dream come true. There's nothing that will ever compare to that feeling. That was really wild. And then, did that for years, got to see parts of the world I've never been to. I've met so many incredible people and had a pleasure to perform with lots of people. And, that's it. For 9 years, I played that role. I think I finally got good at it at some point. But here we are now, coming out of this bizarre 2 years, and where there wasn't a lot of music, there wasn't a lot of performing, all the shows were dark. And we're back now, gratefully. And I think we're back better than ever. And I'm excited that I get to play again. It's nice, people get to listen. And I don't know, now I'd love to play this song from Rent. This is called Seasons of Love, and I think it's more relevant now than it ever was. It's about coming together. It's about love and how you measure a year. This is Seasons of Love. 525,600 minutes, 525,000 moments so dear, 525,600 minutes. How do you measure a year? In daylights, in sunsets, in midnights, in cups of coffee, in inches, in miles, in laughter, in stride, in 525,600 minutes. How do you measure a year in the life? How about love? How about love? How about love? Measuring love. Seasons of love. Seasons of love. I want to thank you so much for inviting me to share my story with you, and I hope to get to see a Broadway show soon in New York City.
Our next city has a lake underneath it. Lake Emily is located under old Northwestern Mutual Home Office. It is also known as the City of Festivals, hosting events such as Summerfest, the most famous music festival, Festa Italiana, Polish Fest, Irish Fest, Oktoberfest, Mexican Fiesta, and the State Fair. It's where the typewriter was invented and the birthplace and headquarters of the Harley-Davidson motorcycles. Savez-vous que c'est ici que la machine à écrire a été inventée et le lieu de naissance est le siège social des motos Harley-Davidson? And what a treat we have for you. And you better be paying really attention because this information could really be useful. Wink, wink. Et portez attention, super important. This is the Milwaukee Entertainment with the virtual gallery talk hosted by Jim Strauss, Visitor Experience Associate at Harley-Davidson Museum.
Hello everyone, my name is Jim Strauss. I'm one of the tour guides here at the Milwaukee Harley-Davidson Museum here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Tonight we're going to talk about pop culture, custom culture, and then we're going to talk about some of our movie motorcycles we have here at the museum as well. Now our museum is located on 20 acres on the eastern edge of the Menominee River Valley. We have 3 main buildings that make up our campus and 2 main floors to our museum. At any one time, we have about 150 motorcycles out on display with another 300 or so in our storage facility right across the street in the archive building. Now, Harley-Davidson has had a long history with the United States military. That relationship started in 1916 with the Mexican-American border wars. And that relationship carried on through World War I and World War II, not only with the United States government, but other governments as well. Obviously, the height of military production was during World War II, when we built about 90,000 motorcycles for that conflict. Now, ultimately, the result of that conflict was that Harley-Davidson garnished the larger contracts for the war, while Indian garnished the smaller ones. And what that did for Harley-Davidson is allowed us to continue building motorcycles through the war and to go right back into civilian production once the war was over. The lasting legacy of this war was that many of the Harley-Davidsons were left behind overseas, and it helped lead to the popularity of Harley-Davidson spreading around the world. Now, once those service members came home from World War II, they were able to purchase these leftover motorcycles for about $375. And they would seek out other servicemen, and they would don their leather jackets and their leather caps, and they would go out for rides in the countryside and customize those motorcycles, sometimes fabricating parts or taking parts off, and then painting that motorcycle to a non-stock color. That type of original customization would eventually lead to the choppers of the 60s and 70s. Now, in the early 1900s, as motorcyclists took to the roads, early accessories started arriving on the scene as well. Things we take for granted today, such as speedometers and tachometers, would have been those types of accessories that would have been purchased back in the early 1900s. The need for accessories exploded after World War II, when those World War II veterans started customizing their motorcycles and changing the looks of them altogether. Now, this new type of customization would lead to a group of, I guess, bikers that were a little rough around the edges and didn't always fit into modern post-war society. One such group was known as the Booze Fighters. And as you see here, this motorcycle is a replica of a Booze Fighters motorcycle. It's done up in their colors of green and white, and has their insignia, which is modeled after a cognac bottle that has 3 stars on the bottle. And the Booze Fighters were formed in 1946 and made up predominantly of returning veterans. These returning veterans would get together and they would go out for rides on the weekends and never really wanted to bother anyone. They would stop along the way and have a drink or two, and no one really paid them much attention until about 1947. In July 4th, 1947, about 4,000 of these riders met up in Hollister, California, and decided to hold a rally. Well, there was a newspaper reporter from the San Francisco Chronicle that was there, and when things weren't as lively as he wanted them to be, he would kind of ad-lib a little bit. In one instance, he took a bar patron out of the bar and sat him on a motorcycle, put 2 beer bottles in his hand, busted some beer bottles and set them on the ground around the motorcycle. Well, also later on in July of that year, Life magazine had captioned that photograph and put it on the front of their magazine with the title, Motorcycle Club Comes to Town and Terrorized the Citizens. This type tend to glorify the outlaw motorcycle gang and kind of was the start of it. Prior to that, you had tidy riders that would ride around and exercise good sportsmanship. But once that Hollister, California article came out, it changed the look of motorcycle goers altogether and kind of brought about that outlaw motorcycle gang image. One such movie that characterized this image was the Wild Ones from 1953 starring Marlon Brando. It was based loosely upon that fictionalized version of what happened in Hollister, California in 1947. Now, Harley-Davidson has had a long relationship with Hollywood, dating all the way back to the early years of silent films. One such movie was 1914's The Gunmen of Plumas. And then a decade or so later, moviegoers flocked to the movies to see the Marx Brothers in Duck Soup, which featured a 1926 Model J. Later, you would have had The Wild Ones in 1953, which again came out with the outlaw motorcycle gang. And then you had Easy Rider in 1969, which tended to humanize the motorcycle rider and also brought about and iconized the choppers of the 60s and 70s. Later on, you would have had such shows as Chips and Pacific Blue, which again had the good guys riding motorcycles. But unfortunately, the teen movies of the day still characterize those motorcycle gangs as outlaw gangs and the bad boys of motorcycle riding. By the early 2000s, you would have had such groups, movies such as Iron Man and the Avengers, Age of Ultron, and Captain America, the First Avenger, which again made those motorcycle riders the heroes of the movies, and nothing depicted a hero better than a badass motorcycle with a loud engine and a very unique sound. Now let's take a look at some of our motorcycles here that we have at our museum that were in some of these movies. The first one we're going to look at is from the 2011 Marvel film, Captain America, the First Avenger. Now this motorcycle might look like it's a World War II WLA, but it's actually about 70 years newer. In fact, this motorcycle started off as a 2008 Crossbones. And the before and after pictures of these movies that you can see are dramatic. In fact, they are incredible to look at. Now, this motorcycle we have here at the museum is authentic. In fact, it even saw a lot of action, movie action. And in fact, if you could see a close-up of the motorcycle, you would see that it has mud all over it. That's actually Hollywood paint, folks. It's not real mud on that motorcycle at all. Now, the next motorcycle we're going to look at is also called the Captain America bike. This is from the 1969 movie Easy Rider. Now, the original movies, motorcycles made for the movie, were destroyed either during the film or stolen offset afterwards. At least that's the rumor of it. But these are exact replicas. Harley-Davidson, with the help of James Beck, who was a motorcycle builder, and Peter Fonda, and along with 300 still shots from the movie, we were able to replicate the two motorcycles from the movie, and they're authentic right down to the rivets on the seat. Now, movies such as Easy Rider helped to depict and sensationalize the choppers of the 60s and 70s. And also, even though we had some motorcycle movies such as this that humanized the riders, you still had these trashy B movies of the 60s, such as Angels on Wheels and Glory Stompers, that were still these B movies that really kind of pictured these motorcycle riders coming into town and terrorizing the residents. Our next motorcycle we're going to look at is from the 1991 film Terminator 2: Judgment Day. And the story goes that James Cameron, the producer of the film, he needed about 3 motorcycles for making this movie. And when he was able to get one from his local dealer, but he had to visit several other dealerships in order to get enough for the movie because of the waiting list and the popularity of this particular motorcycle. Now, he picked this motorcycle specifically for this role. He felt that it had an aggressive look with these cast tires, the engine roar, and he felt it offset and helped kind of go along with Arnold Schwarzenegger's build as well. Now, in this movie, Arnold Schwarzenegger, who is a newly formed android, and walks into a bar and runs into a bunch of bikers where he says, "I need your leather jacket, your boots, and your motorcycle." He then proceeds to get into a fight with these bikers and pretty much levels the whole place. Afterwards, he walks out in his new leather outfit into the parking lot and uses his augmented visual scanning abilities and looks over the parking lot and passes by a Ford Crown Vic a Yamaha motorcycle and some other motorcycles, and finally lands on the 1990 Harley-Davidson Fat Boy. Like I said, this motorcycle was specifically picked for this movie by James Cameron. So as you see, Harley-Davidson has had a long history with the military and with Hollywood. We like to think of ourselves as not just building motorcycles, but we build dreams that, much like the movies that our motorcycles appear in.
Wow. I'm thinking I might need to go get myself a motorcycle after watching that. And I know someone else who's probably enjoyed that clip as much as I did. When we asked Wojtek what he missed most during the pandemic, he told us that they missed the racetrack and eating out with friends. But the tour must go on, folks, so let's get on to our next city. It is the largest city in Canada and fourth largest city in North America. It is the proud home of citizens representing over 200 distinct ethnic origins. Known as the most multicultural city in the world, c'est la plus grande ville du Canada et la quatrième plus grande ville d'Amérique du Nord. C'est la demeure des citoyens représentant plus de 200 origines ethniques distinctes. Elle est connue comme la ville la plus multiculturelle du monde. And where are we? Toronto, aka the Six. It is host to Caribana, North America's largest street festival and parade, a multi-weekend celebration of Caribbean culture and traditions. Now, the city is divided into 8 districts: entertainment, fashion, financial, discovery, garden, design, distillery, and studio. Did you know? Wink. The entertainment district houses a great many hotspots for live music, such as El Mocambo, Rivoli, and Horseshoe Tavern. And speaking of entertainment, let's get ready for our next performer. Now, this duo is no stranger to the BMO stage. They were such a hit during the appreciation event in December 2021 that they have been brought back to perform again for you. With 24 Music Award nominations, over 1,000 performances throughout Canada, Greenland, the United States, Australia, and France, they are Indigenous artists that builds bridges across cultures, continents, and styles, honoring their ancestors through the songs in English, Inuktitut, and French. Here are Toronto's entertainers, Twin Flames.
Hi, I'm Chelsea June.
And I'm Yayi.
Thank you, B2C, for inviting us to join you once again. We're very excited to be back and to share some special songs that represent the great places that we live and work, like Toronto. These songs are some of our favorites, and we even shared one of you back when we first met in December, and that was our song Human. So we hope it will become one of your favorite songs too, and maybe you'll discover a few more with us here today. Our very first song that we're going to sing is called Friends.
Kalo aningwa suta sasunga ikay bunga ilan nakalo bingo asuta
Beside me right until the the end. Right until the
Katanguteka nungagane umadabinge bangotaka Valera loa roma kayo singa konga Pirate harama Sapuchinya tune friends I have got my friends They are standing behind me
This is our song, Giants. You know, after the past 2 years that everyone has been through, it's really important that we hold on to hope and we hold on to strength and remember that we are bigger than mountains, taller than giants, and braver than lions. Just got the news. They called me up today. I hope and I pray that you will be okay. 'Cause this life, it ain't easy. We don't get to choose the ones that we love, the ones that we lose. But you are bigger than mountains. You are taller than giants. You are braver than lions. You are bigger than mountains. You are taller than giants. You are braver than lions. You are. And I know that you're tired. You've weathered so many storms. And I know you've been fighting since the day that you were born. Guess there's some kind of timeline keeping track in the sky. Now I'm praying for your life. Why won't you try? 'Cause you are bigger than mountains. You are taller than giants. You are braver than lions. You are bigger than mountains. You are taller than giants. You are braver than lions. You are. Good days are coming. Don't leave too soon. The flower you're becoming needs time to bloom. Don't leave too soon. 'Cause you are bigger than mountains. You are taller than giants. You are braver than lions. You are bigger than mountains. You are taller than giants. You are braver than lions. You are.
In Inuktitut, which is my mother tongue, when I say the word inuvunga, I am saying I am human. When I say inuvunga, I am saying I am people. But the most important one, when I say inuvunga, I am saying I am alive. That one word in my language means all three in English, that we are all human. This song, Human, is for all of you. Pito hak cho mi si volle pavanon atok tau lau tu ming tigo me konga kayo sinakara angayok kakano do kaya lau ma.
I have a language that was born with time, passed on through generations, one of a kind. Keep it close to me, close to my heart, share for all to hear. I will do my part.
Ubigo subunga.
I am proud, je suis fier of who I am. I am human. I am people. I am human. I am people. I am proud, je suis fier of who I am. I am proud, je suis fier of who I am. We are trying to find a place. Il n'est pas trop tard, il n'est pas trop tard. We are all the human race. Il faut faire l'effort, il n'est pas trop tard. I am proud, je suis fier of who I am human. I am people. I am human. I am people.
Our elders say we were given our languages from the animals, from the trees, yet we cut them down. Many things have been taken from our people, yet we are still here. Our languages are not lost, but simply resting, waiting to be reawakened.
We are human. We are people. We are human. We are people. We are human. We are
Thank you once again, Team B2C. We hope you enjoy the rest of your journey tonight. Chimikwech.
Nagokmek, unnokatselang abusi.
Our last stop is the third largest city in the US with 2.7 million residents. Its name comes from the Algonquin word shigagu, meaning onion field. It's also known as the Windy City, city of big shoulders, and really important, the second city, also the name of the famous comedy improv enterprise, the White City and the City That Works. We know it as Chicago. Now, the city has the world's tallest building designed by a female architect known as Jane Gang, the 82-story Aqua, and is renowned as a great culinary destination with specialties in deep dish pizzas. Donc, Chicago qui est réputé comme une grande destination culinaire, une spécialité des deep dish pizzas. You know who's really going to enjoy this next segment? It's Bindu and Atul. Now, Binda told us what she missed the most over the past couple of years was pizza lunches with her team. And Atul told us he used to take a lunch to his child at school and has finally been able to do so again. Maybe we'll be bringing this next delicious dish as a surprise to school next week. Well, Bindu and Atul, it's time to save our next presentation with a chef who has been cooking and baking her way through the culinary world for over 15 years and is not only classically trained in culinary but also trained in baking and pastry arts. She has a wealth of knowledge when it comes to food. Her knife skills are sharp and her piping skills are out of this world. She's an avid pizzaiolo, baker and pasta maker extraordinaire. So I hope you're excited as I am to have her create a delish deep dish pizza. And not to worry, you'll all be receiving a PDF recipe document of Alessandra's famous deep dish pizza so you can make it at home. Et ne vous inquiétez pas, vous allez recevoir un document PDF contenant la recette de la célèbre deep dish pizza d'Alessandra que vous puissiez le faire chez vous. This is Chicago's entertainer, Chef Alessandra.
Hello Team B2C, I'm Chef Alessandra, they also call me Chef Ali, and I hear that this winning team enjoys a lot of things, one of them being good food. I am very excited to be with you tonight to share a Chicago favorite, as well as my own, the iconic deep dish pizza. Chicago pizza is layered differently. It has a thicker crust, an inverted layer of cheese to avoid burning, and it's finished with the sauce on top for a great finish. It's packed with antioxidants because of its thicker crust. It has longer baking times and higher baking temperatures. So let's get started. So here I have our dough. Now this dough is packed with a lot of fat content. And we're gonna start to push it out just to help with the rolling process. If you need, you can always have a little bit of dusting flour just so that it doesn't stick and it's an easy release from your board. The key part to rolling out a pizza dough is to make sure that you keep the round shape. Starting from the center and rolling out, you constantly want to rotate your dough. And keeping it moving also will help to keep it from sticking from your board. A good trick to know if it's the right size for your pan is to put the pan on top of your dough, and if you can see a border around the pan, that means you have the right size to fit into your pan. So let's see where we're at. So we're gonna get our pan. This is a 9-inch cast iron, and I can see that we're just there. Another great trick is to roll the dough onto your rolling pin to help you move it into your pan. And then you just roll it right off, and you're just gonna fit your crust into your pan. Making sure to get onto the edges, give it a little pat down. Now the fun part, putting all the ingredients inside. So here I have mozzarella and provolone. Now I like to use provolone as well because it has a little saltier taste than just the regular mozzarella. So we'll start with our mozzarella and we're just going to layer them with an overlap of each slice. This is going to be a great gooey cheese layer to your Chicago deep dish pizza. And now going in with the provolone. Provolone is an aged cheese, so it's not as soft as a traditional mozzarella cheese, but it adds great flavor. Next, we're gonna do our sausage. Now this is where your hands are gonna get a little bit dirty. So what I like to do is cut off a little piece and just smush it down into the pie. This is where you can get the kids to help out, get their hands dirty in the kitchen, squishing down the meat into the pie. This is a good opportunity if you like to add some heat. You can buy a spicy sausage. If you like things mild, go for a nice sweet Italian sausage. It's always a great choice. You want to make sure you get every little inch of the pie covered. So just as we finish filling up our pie with our meat, we're gonna get onto the tomato sauce. Now I know you guys have these recipes, and the tomato sauce is something that you can do well in advance and keep it in your fridge. It's actually perfect if it's cold. When I make my tomato sauce, I love to leave whole tomatoes, and when I put it into the pie, I like to crush the tomatoes to make sure that I get every inch of our pie covered. So let's get into the tomato sauce. So I'll use a ladle to put it into the sauce, into the pie, and then I'll crush it with my fingers. If you like, you can add fresh basil as well to the tomato sauce. Or if you don't have time, you can always go and get pre-made sauce. Your favorite is always the best. And there's no delicate part about making a pizza. You just gotta get your hands in there. The more food is touched, the better it tastes. So as long as your pie is completely covered and filled with the tomato sauce, you're all good. All right, a quick little cleanup. And for a finishing touch, I like to use freshly grated Parmesan cheese. You can also use pre-grated Parmesan cheese. And for me, the more the better. Almost resembles snow. All right. All right, so one final finishing touch, I can't wait for this pie to get into the oven, it smells great already, is a little bit of olive oil drizzle right on top. This will also help conduct heat to the top of your pie and give you a really great finish. Okay, and there we have it. Our pie is ready to go into the oven. So let's go do that. All right, and here we have it. So I baked the Chicago pizza at 425 for 30 minutes, uninterrupted, right in the middle of the oven, and this is the final product. So enjoy, thank you, merci, and I'm grateful that you guys allowed me to join you for your special event tonight.
Amazing. What an incredible ride, and that deep dish looks delish and so much better than my non-GMO organic chai latte with a dash of cinnamon. Now, I hope that Rebecca is sitting with her family right now and enjoying this video, as we know she missed those big family gatherings over the holidays. Hopefully tonight was the start to getting everyone back together. I hope all of you enjoyed your journey and learned some unique facts about each of B2C's location along the way. I also hope you got a chance to take notes so that you can participate in our city-specific trivia game, which will be emailed to you soon for your chance to play and potentially win an amazing prize. Wherever you are across North America tonight, let's give a big round of applause for all our performers. Peu importe où vous êtes en Amérique du Nord, une bonne main d'applaudissements pour nos performeurs. Let us know what's your favorite city in the chat or the tourist attractions you want to visit. Faites-nous part de votre ville préférée dans le clavardage ou de l'attraction touristique que vous souhaitez visiter. But most importantly, thank you, B2C. Not only for showing up tonight, but for always being ready to win for this team, your partners, and your customer during these unique times. Merci à vous pour avoir toujours été prêts à gagner pour cette équipe, vos partenaires et vos clients en ces temps exceptionnels. You are helping BMO win by providing essential financial services to millions of customers and keeping them safe and operational. Now, don't forget to watch your email the next day for your opportunity to participate in the Passport to Fun contest for your chance to win one of 5 $100 travel and entertainment gift cards. N'oubliez pas de surveiller vos courriels dans les prochains jours pour participer au concours Passeport pour le plaisir et courir la chance de gagner l'une des 5 cartes cadeaux de $100 pour voyages et loisirs. And now, a final, very special message from your leadership team.
We truly hope you enjoyed tonight's event and it brought you some laughs and smiles.
And even though we're all here together virtually, please know that everyone here on the B2C leadership team is so tremendously appreciative of your efforts.
Thank you all. I know that you've been working incredibly hard, and with the summer season coming soon, I hope everyone will have a chance for a great vacation, some rest and relaxation.
To get out there and experience in person, firsthand, whatever it is you love to do in the places you love to be with the people you care about.
From this beach, somewhere in the matrix, we think.
For your commitment to B2C, our clients and our customers.
For your dedication to your team and each other.
On behalf of everyone on the leadership team,
we raise this very fancy tropical glass to you and say,
cheers!
Na zdrowie!
Salut!
Živjeli!
Salute!
Woohoo! Cheers!
This one is for you. Cheers!